Present.
Councilmember Naima Gilliard.
Present.
Councilmember Rosie Jackson.
Here.
And Councilmember Lee.
Present.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. It's my first item.
The first item is a discussion regarding the mid-year budget planning.
Ms. Malone?
That was the first one? Got it. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and Council. This is just a highlight. As you know, you received the CFO's budget and finance report at the last meeting, so I just wanted to highlight a couple of key opportunities because we have a mid-year budget report and modification coming up. So I've asked the CFO and spoken to you about making sure you have a couple of things so that you're prepared. I think one of the key items that we talked about, and this is a discussion, so there are no items or anything for you to approve, just wanted to bring some things to your attention. So I think the first item is that I think we saw that our financial position is solid, but there's some things that we all need to pay attention to as we look at our spending and we make decisions and things that the staff will be bringing forth. So I believe the mid-year budget modification is scheduled for March. And so in February, in the next 2 council meetings where we will be doing as staff is just highlighting potential resources we may need, cost savings activities that we have taken on and things that you can look for in the mid-year budget. So as you align your priorities or things that you might want to do within this year, you'll have a better picture. And so as such, we've asked the CFO to provide some projections on certain activities so that we all have a better look. I think there were some other things that we also wanted to highlight for your knowledge as well. I think with the insurance funds that we have budgeted, I believe that Fulton County is in disagreement from our position that we should receive a portion of those funds. And I expect them to provide us a formal letter in the next week or so stating their position. They told us that they disagree. I think we believe that we're entitled to some of those funds, but it's something that will impact our budget. I think the other thing that I sent you guys maybe about a month ago was related to the new tax that went into effect January 1st from the Georgia General Assembly last year, which was the internet tax, being able to collect taxes on those internet sales by municipality. I know that some of you are looking at potential legislation on that, and so I would encourage you to look at that prior to the mid-year budget modification so that we can begin collecting those funds. And so with that, if there's any discussion, questions, thoughts, or anything you'd like us to do to prepare, we could entertain that if the Mayor Pro Tem so believes we should.
Do you know the exact time or month or week that we are actually that you're going to present the mid-year budget?
So I would defer to the CFO for that.
So we will start the 2020 budget preparation in March.
The end of March. That's when we'll begin.
Yes.
So
before that, we are going to give you the schedules we did last time. You may or may not the new model. So we'll give you a schedule from when we start every event until up to the adoption time.
So
the adoption is given you 2 months
He's talking about
mid-March.
modification. He's talking about the budget
Modification is
modification.
March, that's mid-year. We will give you specific date, should be at least maybe the second council meeting.
So at that second council meeting, can we expect to receive a balance of all of the budget lines, what's left on each line, what's been spent on each line?
Yep, you will get it.
And if we have suggestions for budget amendments, should we wait until after we receive that in mid-March, or should we submit those now?
Actually, we will be that, you can't do that now because you don't have information. So the time will be coming to you, will be telling you, here is where our revenues are. These other revenues have gone to what was projected. These others have underperformed. So sometimes they are set off. Getting to expenses is still the same. Some have underperformed, some have gone. Some maybe have underperformed expenses, but their time has not come.
No, I understand. I just want to make sure that in this process that we will get a report on the budget, and that we will also then be able to tell you about things that we may want to see, adjustments that we may want to have made to that budget.
So the time it comes to you, it will be budget amendment. The manager will present on the staff with the manager will present that. From there, you can make some corrections, you can make some changes, which will still be part of the budget amendment.
All right, so I guess, Mr. Donald, what I'm requesting is before you present us with that budget, that we would be able to meet with you and say, here are some things that we are interested in.
So I think we're all kind of saying the same thing. So in between now and the mid-year budget amendment, I think the CFO just said the mid-year budget amendment request will come to you guys the last meeting in March. And so what I have said is that in between now and then, as a part of our reports and things related to the council meetings, we'll be providing information, getting feedback from you guys. So that's the process that we're trying to do this time, because we didn't do it in FY18.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Wolf.
Yes, Mr. Porter, I want to remind you that we have a tight time period and we have a lot of stuff to get through, so just want to remind you of that. I think my question was answered. He asked when was the budget mid-year planning going to take place, and that will be in March, and that was all I had, so thank you.
Good. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, next item. The next item is Super Bowl 53 update.
Then I think while the council has received information related to our efforts in Super Bowl, I just thought it important to, on the record, make sure that the public understands that while the Super Bowl is officially taking place in the neighboring jurisdiction in Atlanta, the City of South Fulton is definitely playing a major role in that. And so I won't recap the full memo, but I think it is a part of the public record in the packet, and I think we're very excited about our activities around Super Bowl. As you know, the 10-day operational period began on January 2nd, and so the city has been working with the City of Atlanta and other surrounding jurisdictions, and we have been providing services mainly around Charlie Brown Airport, to providing additional fire support, as well as partnering with our different police jurisdictions, as well as the Atlanta Fulton County Emergency Management System. And so the City of South Fulton has been a great partner with the Super Bowl, and we will continue to provide services. And so we wanted both the council and our residents to know that. And so that includes, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
All right, your next item is a resolution under number 2019-004, a resolution for the assumption and continuation of TSPLOST agreements within the City of South Fulton and for other lawful purposes.
So Mayor and Council, at your last meeting, if you recall, we presented this resolution, and the goal was for Mr. Donald and myself and staff to negotiate the assumption of TSPLOST agreements, and the council instructed us at that meeting to instead actually bring back the actual agreements. So you received an email from me last Friday where I gave you a Dropbox with access to all the actual agreements. So the request would be now to authorize Mr. Donald and myself to negotiate these agreements in a substantial form and for the city to assume the TSPLOST projects that are being paid for through the 2016 TSPLOST allocations to Fulton County.
Good afternoon, Council. With regards to the item presented by our attorney and our city manager, what we're trying to accomplish here is to ensure that that we have continuity of the projects that we have contracted with Fulton County and the current vendors. Fulton County contracted with 3 standby consultants, which are Jacobs, William Russell and Johnson, and American Engineers, as well as contracted for resurfacing projects with C.W. Matthews, and for construction inspections with Jacobs as a separate contract for only construction inspections and geotechnical reporting on projects, as well as a standalone contract with GTG for the installation of the traffic signal Cascade Palmera West stops. By assuming those contracts will allow us to continue with the projects, and the funds for those projects are coming straight from TSPLOST funds. Should you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer anything that you may have.
Just a second, I'd like to entertain a motion first. Then we can go into the discussion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2019-004.
Second.
Oh, okay.
We got people on the queue.
No, we have discussion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Actually, Councilwoman Gill, yes, I did it first.
Thank you. I looked at the list, the TSPLOST list, and, oh no, I looked at the TSPLOST list, and, when I first looked at it, some time ago, this is the second time that we received it, I shared that Village Green that's on this list is not in the City of South Fulton. It is in Fairburn, and it's still on the list. So it needs to come off the list. It is not in our city. And so it is not, I would like to replace it with Colonist Drive, if that would be possible. I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah,
If I
so,
might respond, is the reason why we didn't take that out is for accountability purposes, for accounting purposes, because if we take that out, then our numbers will change substantially for that amount. But we have noted on the report that it is highlighted on red as well as belonging to the City of Fairburn.
So how are we going to get reimbursed? It's
No, we're not going to do it.
You're not going to do it?
Right, that's correct, because it is within the City of Fairburn.
See, where does the money go?
it does not get, so we would not be able to authorize the project. So what happens with this TSPLOST list, these were the TSPLOST projects previously approved in the queue, et cetera. And so these assumptions and us accepting this responsibility for those items not highlighted in red as Mr. Valenzuela highlighted, allows us to be able to simply assume the responsibility to click yes, you can fund this project or you cannot. And so those funds would remain at Fulton County, am I correct, Mr. Valenzuela? Because they wouldn't be allocated to that project, is that correct?
That's correct, City Manager. And I will also want you to consider that the funds that you see on each project, those are estimated funds when we come out with the list for TSPLOST. And all the funds we're looking ahead with the 85% assumption that the funds will come into the city. It's a forecast. In some instances, we might have some savings. In some instances, you might have the actual construction of those costs might increase. So it is our recommendation to stay where we are, and as we're closing contracts, we're gonna see that where are we having? Are we having some savings? Are we having some overruns or underruns?
Councilmember, very quickly, I think one way to kind of illuminate this and make it a little clearer, last week I sent you guys a update of where we are on the actual TSPLOST collections. I think they went through December. And so when you look at those, what you'll see is that there's been a collection of about 85% of projected revenues. So you haven't, let's say if you were supposed to collect $10 million over the course of TSPLOST, it's actually only been 8.5 million. And so what Mr. Valenzuela is saying is that the projects for 17, 18, 19, and 20 are budgeted, again, I'm using 10 million as a round number, at this $10 million. And so with you only collecting 8.5, it allows you to continue the projects and allocate on those. You had a separate question though about adding something to the list of approved projects. That you cannot do. You can't add a new project, but what you can do is move projects up or back now that we have control. But we can't do that until we actually assume these projects. And by assuming these projects, I'd like you to know that right now, there is no work, there is no vendor work that is authorized to be done, and there's no work being done on these projects because we can't assume, we haven't assumed them yet. So once we assume them, we can now click yes, saying you're authorized to pay that. And then secondly, you would be able to move projects up based on funding and status. And I think that's what Mr. Valenzuela is referring to there.
So what I really would like to see is a line through it, so it doesn't look like it's still on the
As a
table.
visual.
I just want to make sure that we're not receiving that. He might have something like that.
Understood.
But here, it's not saying that.
And I know we've tried to highlight it in red, but we have received your feedback. We'll draw a line through it too.
So my last question that relates to this, and it really might just be because at the time that this was approved, it was approved for unincorporated South Fulton. So the last item on the list is the Fulton County Airport Improvement and Charlie Brown. So I didn't know why that was listed with everything else in here that seems to be specifically for the city of South Fulton.
I can respond to that to you, ma'am. When TSPLOST
Try to get it out of your
was organized, it was a project for Fulton County. And by looking at the entire transportation arena, it was decided that the FIB requires some attention as well as the airport. That's the reason why the Fulton County Board of Commissioners approved on that mode. For the project that you see it, both were approved by the county and the Board of Commissioners. So we didn't add it at the last minute or so.
I just thought everything was for the city. I didn't know that there was something additional in for the county.
All right, Council. Councilmember Willis.
Yes, I just want to see, on page 16 of 122, I did read on number 2, obligate the city to payment of any funds which, when combined with the amounts paid by the county for the involved project, exceeds the total TSPLOST project contract amount set forth within the TSPLOST agreement within the contract that the county is to be assumed. And so, in essence, is that what we will use that money that would not go to Village Green? Like if a project comes in higher than the amount that what we estimated for, could that money be used to help fund that project?
No, ma'am. What it does is, just to give you an example, I think on page 3 of the summary that you have on the TSPLOST, we have highlighted about 9 projects on green, I believe, that our projects are underway. Those projects are already contracted with diverse vendors.
Okay.
And we just put it on stop on those projects, but assuming it, then we're gonna actually benefit by using older quotes that Fulton County contracted with those vendors. I will guarantee you that once we start going for the new projects, the quotes are gonna be a little higher.
Okay, the second question that I have is, as I look at the schedule, I see where the green is completed, but there are some projects that have money allocated from 2017, 2018, and those projects have not been completed. So, is there a schedule another schedule that's gonna come out to tell us when those projects are gonna be completed? Because it looks like we're behind schedule.
It may appear that way. The only ones that are in the way, it is projects that are under design. So design-wise, we were on the schedule. The funds were allocated in 2017, but then you'll have to have the acquisition of the rights of way and construction. Then as we're moving along with the project, we'll be going into 2019 and so on. So our goal is to, in some of those projects, our goal was to let those projects to construction this year. And I think we still have that chance to go to construction and start allocating funds for those phases.
Okay, and my last question is, in 2017, the mayor appointed Ms. Anna Roach to, I think it was the TSPLOST board to represent the city of South Fulton, but now that she is the county manager for the county, do we need to try to look to reappoint somebody else?
So she's the chief operating officer, not the
county manager, chief operating officer.
I don't think so. Personally, I don't think there's a requirement to do so. I would say throughout this process, having a City of South Fulton resident that is highly ranking with Fulton County has been very helpful, having an advocate for us, including kind of delaying some of these stop work activities and things of that nature. But I think, the council could consider it and potentially put someone else in there, but I think for our practical experiences, it has been a help.
I would like city attorney to file that.
So my only concern is that obviously if there's a conflict of interest, it's logical to assume that it'll be weighed in favor of the county. So I think I think it's okay for now, but as we progress, if we see any foreseeable conflicts of interest that come up, I think that staff as well as myself would have an obligation to bring that to the council.
Okay, I think for conflict of interest, I know Ms. Roach, and I think that she is a outstanding person, and I think she's well accomplished. But we may want to look at trying to get somebody else appointed, just to avoid conflicts of interest. So how do we go about doing that? I move that we.
What I can do is I can bring a resolution back to your next meeting, and then I can fill in the blank if you guys want to vote or put names
So
out
I
here.
don't need to move. I don't need to make.
Yeah, you don't need to move now. I can just bring a document back and you can approve the selection at the next meeting if you have it by then.
We have Councilwoman Roy.
Yes, just clarification also, Mr. Valenzuela, isn't the tier 2 projects only as the funding becomes available? So while we may see things in prior year commitments for 17, 18, and 19, we may never get to those projects depending on how much taxes are collected under the TSPLOST.
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay.
Councilwoman Gillen.
Page 16, section 1, number 1. It says, entitled, any entity to any amount of compensation collectively from the city and county which exceeds the total TSPLOST project. I don't think that that's the language that we want to have in there. I don't think that we want to entitle them to exceed the TSPLOST amount that's contracted. And then the next one says, obligate the city for the payment of any funds which when combined with amounts paid by the county for the involved project exceeds the total TSPLOST project. So there are a couple of things that's in there that needs to change.
Well, so I did look at this provision to provide clarity on this. So basically, the reason this was put in here is to make clear that whatever negotiation power the city manager and I have to negotiate these, says under no exception shall the assumption agreements, so that means under no circumstance, and I can change that to be more clear about putting circumstance, but under no circumstance shall me or Mr. Donald do anything that entitles anyone to any amount of compensation that exceeds the total TSPLOST contract amount that we're gonna receive funding for.
That should be,
Well, that's the way it's worded now.
oh, but I don't have that.
So it's, if you read the line above, it says, said assumption agreements may be modified and consulted by the city manager in consultation with the city attorney, but under no exception shall they, and then it lists the two things that we cannot do. And the first is to exceed the TSPLOST allocation, and the second is to obligate the city for the payment of any funds that when they're combined with what the county was paid.
Councilwoman Jackson.
I think we talked about this in 2017, I saw the list. But I was under the impression, I'm looking at streets that are here, but Pebble Beach, which is a main street going into Bellwood, off of Bellwood, it has been told it's not here at all. And they have potholes starting from the beginning to the end. And I guess my question is, how did you all come up with this? So these streets, yeah. No, citizens is all on my phone from Pebble Beach.
When we selected the projects for T-splits in 2015, 2016, we have different meetings with the community throughout the city, throughout unincorporated Fulton County back then. And we have looked at the plats for subdivisions. We have, the number of roads per subdivision is huge, tremendous. And based on our technical reviews and so on, we present it to the community. And believe me, the number of needs in South Fulton is bigger than what we have. But at the end of the day, what it was approved, it's what we presented.
So how can we include, for 21, what do we need to do to get that included in our
My basic advice is that we hope that the revenues are coming at the right rate. We have tier 1, 2, and tier 3. There's a project list in place, and for the IGA, and we just cannot add any projects into the list. But as you can see, there are many other projects that we haven't listed that are in such a need, and perhaps we don't necessarily have to wait for another TSPLOST, but
So is there other funds somewhere that we can?
We can consider for 2020 LMIG, perhaps. And all it is, looking at the conditions, the estimated cost for that particular road, and looking at as well if we don't have other main corridors that may provide a better service throughout the City of South Fulton and so on. But definitely we're going to assess your request.
Councilwoman Brown. Councilwoman Brown.
One of the things I wanted to suggest, I heard 3 projects up here that, of course, are not on this TSPLOST list that we think are important. I would like to make a motion that the Public Works Department get some cost estimate on these projects in the event that other funds may become available. And so I want to make a motion that Pebble Beach, I have a request for South Utoy Creek Bridge at Fairburn and Collin's Drive, that the Public Works Department
We have a
get
motion
some cost.
already.
No, but she's amending, I guess.
No, she's not amending, but we're in discussion for a
Yeah, we're in
motion right now.
discussion.
So
Okay,
after we vote on it, then we
okay,
can.
I'll wait.
Councilmember, I would say, I'm not certain you have to make a motion for us to get cost estimates. I think you could just direct us to bring back cost estimates within a reasonable amount of time, and we could just do an estimate. Is there a cost associated, Mr. Valenzuela, that goes above our agreement with Jacobs? Or is that something within their purview that we can simply just do on behalf of the will of the council?
We have some projects that we already have the estimates.
Okay.
That we're working in order to update some of the estimates. You know, if we get those contracts, the standby contracts, we also have another way to move on with different needs that might be required for public works.
So I think from what Mr. Valenzuela is saying is that once we assume these contracts and we have a better control over these activities, you could simply direct us or provide us a list of what you would want estimates of, and we just provide them. Because if there's no additional financial impact or is within the normal scope of work, you could simply highlight what projects you guys are interested in. We get you the cost estimates, and then you make a decision as a council, whether it be a mid-year budget review, the 2020 budget, or whatever process, we simply bring it back.
So would that be directed to you or?
Yeah, yes, if you directed to me, then I would, you know, me or my designee would make sure it happens, but yes, sir.
Councilman Lee.
I assume that now that we are a city, we would be able, after 2021, to issue our own TSPLOST. And I don't think that we're there yet, but I would suggest that sometime in 2020, sometime next year, when we see what the status of all of these things are, and as we're compiling a list of new projects, there may even be some parks projects that we want to add in on there. There are lighting projects. There are lots of things that we want to get done in the city. If we could, at some point in 2020, maybe have a work session on how to do a TSPLOST ourselves for our city, and then maybe do some community forums to compile a list of new projects.
Yes, sir. Councilwoman Woods, we're going on.
Yes, lastly, I just want us to, I think that's a good suggestion that Mr. Donald made. I'm uncomfortable with us just calling out streets from the council. It needs to be a comprehensive approach. It needs to be a comprehensive study done, and we need to look at, if we have revenues that exceed expenses, we need to look at it from a citywide approach and not just from individual street approaches. That's just, so I like what Mr. Donald said. We need to look at citywide approach, not just call out streets from the council. Thank you.
Yes, Steve, okay, we have a motion on the floor in a second.
Just saying.
All those in favor?
I think we're going to vote.
We're going to vote through the.
You can, if you would like.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
What we can do? No, your vote just came on.
It can't work anyway, because I can't.
Just log in.
I don't have.
I got you. I got you.
Is everybody going to
Let's
vote
do it.
from their machine?
How do we come up? Where?
You have to confirm you.
I did.
Please be patient with us. We're trying out a new system, and this is the first time.
These two didn't pop up.
Oh, you have to do it twice.
You hit 2 times.
Yeah,
You have to confirm.
No,
It's up there.
Mine went up.
I see it. You already.
To the right.
It's
Green.
up there. It's up there.
District Clerk,
Mine is not showing.
are you for it?
And yours is a yea vote?
It is.
Okay.
Okay, so, Mr. Clerk, you have a unanimous
Yes, sir.
decision. If anything, Ms. Margaret, you want to assist Councilwoman Burwell? Okay, Mr. Clerk, yes, you can sign the title.
The next item is a resolution, 2019-005, a resolution enhancing public safety within the City of South Fulton, authorizing the execution of a lease for police purposes and for other lawful purposes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to, yes, I can. 100%. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2019-004.
Second.
Okay, discussion, Councilwoman Gill.
So, I read the proposal. And, I have quite a few questions. The first one being that, the general cost is $36,000 for this. This is not about the rent, this is about the building itself. But we're supposed to pay the insurance, and I would think that the contractor would have their own insurance. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I don't know why the cost of maintenance is included. The third thing is that, the question that I had earlier was, did our construction contractors take a look at the building? Because listed here is we have to do the electrical, the plumbing, the HVC, the sprinklers, the this and the that, and it doesn't include the floors or landscaping. And that comes to $278,000. And then there's the general cost, which is $8,000. And then the carpentry, which is $107,000, the miscellaneous. So the total amount is $516,000. I don't know whether that's in the budget or not. I didn't really look, should have, but I didn't. And then you add on to it the rent of $288,000. So now we're up to $800,000. I don't know if that's in the budget or not, but I have some concerns about that and our negotiating. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, enter into a contract for this building, but I understand that it's been vacant for quite some time, and I don't understand why we can't get better terms. That's what I'm going to say.
So I think there's been some deliberation since the time that this was first put on the agenda for the initial January 29th meeting. Since that time, I'll tell you, we have had multiple people throughout this process that we've looked at. The challenge is not so much this facility. What we really should be asking for appropriately is the authorization up to a certain amount to enter into an agreement for a police precinct on Old National, because I think that is truly what our goal is. And so as we go through this lease, we could not execute it as it is. It is not a final lease that has been approved by the attorney, or negotiations have not continued with the potential landowner. There are also others that we are weighing opportunities. So what our true request is authorization to enter into the budget, to execute an agreement not to exceed said amount for a police precinct along the Old National Corridor. That is what our appropriate request should be.
Well, it's not, I think that resolution is different.
Yeah, the resolution is specific to this property, but I think what the city manager is asking for is to make it general so that he's not restrained to move forward with this property.
So can I give you some insights that I would?
Correct.
So is that something that we need to know that we can discuss in executive session?
It is.
Yes.
I think that is the appropriate place to do so, yes, sir.
Wait a second. You have, Councilwoman?
Jackson, sorry.
My question, and I guess when I was looking at the construction proposal, I'm not seeing, I know there was a concern before about a place to hold arrestees. Is there going to be a place for that here in this? Because I don't see.
Yes, ma'am. It's a part of the drawings, the initial drawings that they provided through this process. So the short answer is yes. It would be the central precinct where you would be able to provide those cells and all that good stuff. Yes, ma'am. So those would be included, but yes, and we could of course talk more about it.
Councilwoman?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to call the previous question. Most of the items surrounding this transaction is going to have to be discussed in the executive session, so it's not very helpful for us to continue to go back and forth. So I'll call the previous question.
I agree. Okay, motion, give it a second.
You already said it. We both said.
Okay, so,
Is this on the motion to call the question?
right, we have this second motion to call for.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, Mr. Clerk, we have a motion now to,
You can
We
take
have a
this
motion and a
discussion to any
second.
executive session discussion.
well, no, that's not her motion. So the motion is to move forward.
Oh, okay.
All of those in favor? This,
This is to approve.
I call
this is to approve, that's what her
Yeah.
motion.
There was a motion on the floor to approve this resolution. It was in discussion. I called the previous question to stop the debate.
And that's what we did.
So that we could go with it.
So, no, that's not her motion.
My motion is to call the previous question.
All those in favor?
This is on the previous question?
No, we've already done that.
Right, that's what I thought.
So
So
now
now
this
we're
is a
voting on the
motion to
lease.
accept this resolution.
And so the
As it
vote
is.
is open if you'd like to vote.
So the vote is open on
On your screen.
your screen.
We're voting on the lease.
Resolution enhancing public safety.
Yes.
It's on the screen.
So,
Read. Well,
So vote no.
We supposed to be doing it in executive session. I thought.
You got, that's not what I asked for. I called the previous question. The motion was on the floor to approve
I
the
think we could.
resolution enhancing public safety within the city of South Fulton, authorizing execution of a lease for public purposes for other lawful purposes. That was the previous question. That
So-
was the motion on the floor.
So you can vote now on the screen, and if your screen is not working, please raise your hand if you're in favor.
Councilwoman Willis, the city manager asked for,
Right.
if you were willing to amend the motion to just give the
She's,
general
and she's
authority.
not.
Oh,
sorry,
okay, I'm sorry.
as a point of order, we are in the middle of a vote now.
Right now.
So there's no more talking, we're just voting.
Right. Okay, Mr. Clerk, can you tell me what you see? I don't have a vote on Councilman Khalid.
I have 5 yeas
Mhm.
and 0 nays.
Are there any abstentions? The vote, everyone hasn't voted yet, have we?
Are you voting no or yes?
I did.
Just tell us so we can go.
Yes.
She said no. She
So the
said
only
no.
person who has.
Okay, so that passes 6-1.
Next.
Ms. Gilliard. Okay. Mr. Clerk, you can have it.
Well, the next item that you all have advertised is to go into executive session for.
Mr. Pro Tem, I'd like to move that we go into executive session to discuss personnel, real estate, and litigation. Is that what's on the agenda? Yes. All right, thank you.
Okay, discussion.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would just like to suggest, no, I'll withdraw.
Okay, all those in favor, executive session? You're not doing it on screen, are you? Yeah, 5-2.
You gotta get quick with it. You gotta get quick with it, Mr. Massey.
Yes, I count the hands. We have 2 hands right here, and then go on. Count hands. Okay, well, y'all gotta raise their, that's what y'all gotta.
We didn't, I'm not trying to take over.
She's trying to be decency and order.
The court administrator, position, the clerk municipal court and municipal court administrator position,
And amend the pay class.
and amend the pay and class.
Second.
Discussion, discussion, I'm sorry. I mean, you're right. We have to vote.
Based on the recommendation of the city manager.
You can entertain discussion.
Okay.
You can entertain discussion.
I entertain discussion. You second? Okay. Go ahead.
I second, again, as outlined by the city manager,
You got it.
because it has the figures and the pay and scale.
Well, I said positions and pay and class.
Okay. Any further discussion? All of those in favor? So it look like we got 5.
So that's, what is that,
Okay,
56?
Well, we didn't get the.
This is the vote to convene.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We didn't set the poll for the next meeting. We forgot to do
We're gonna do that through our clerk.
Oh.
All right,
Thank you everyone for coming.
thank you so much for waiting with us.